Hi guys, welcome to Windsome Cottage Garden. My name is Hannah and I'm so glad that you decided to join me today. We are in the home garden and it is time to get another set of seedlings started. Today we're actually doing our zinnias, which you want to do 2 to 4 weeks before your last frost date. My frost date here at the home garden is now May 18th, but at the cottage it's not till the end of May, beginning of June. So I'm doing it a little on the 3-ish week, maybe 4 week if you are doing it towards the end of the month. But that gives me an opportunity to pinch them as they get bigger, which will allow us a healthier plant that develops more blooms later in the season. We're also going to be starting some leafy greens, which are going to be going out in the next 2 weeks in a vegetable garden that we're going to be working on in the next week or two, at least getting started. I don't know how much will be done in the next week or two. We'll just at least get it mapped out. Before I do either of those things, I'm actually going to go get my tomato seedlings and up pot them. They're looking a little bit sad. I should have done this about a week and a half ago. They've languished a bit, but I think once I get these done, they're going to take off and be so much happier now that they're in real soil. When I up pot my seedlings, I move from a seed starting mix to a potting soil mix, and that will help them give that nutritional next step up that they need in their development. So I'm going to be doing that. I'm also going to be checking in on the winter jugs that we've looked at a couple of different times. Today, I am feeling good enough to cut them open. I'm going to cut them open and leave them propped. It's only supposed to dip down to 50 something tonight, so I think I can even leave them open overnight. And there might be some rain. So one of the benefits of opening them up is that they get that rain they need. I'm not going to cut the top off completely in case as we get another frost. We actually had 2 or 3 different freeze warnings this week. So when that happens, I can come back out and just pop it back down. But they need to be checked in. Some of them are going to need watering, as are some of our holding plants, which I'll give you a brief update on as well. So this is like a seedling starting meets doing some seedling work and checking in on things that we already have going that we've done a little bit of. I will say that the video you're going to be seeing next is a video about some tree removal that's happening here, tree and shrub removal. And I'm actually going to do my best not to film anywhere that you can see what's happening so that you can see that whole video at once and get that experience. But it means that how I do it outside is going to be a little bit different than I normally would. So make sure you come back for that. But if you see me trying to do odd angles and you're like, why? It's because I don't want to ruin the surprise that's coming in the next video. Before we get to that video, we have this one to get to. So let's dive into potting my tomato seedlings. It's pretty nice out. It was about 65, though there's a wind now. So I think what I'll probably do is just dive into a montage and hopefully it doesn't get too cold or rain, which it might. So keep your fingers crossed for me. the wind is really picking up, and I actually have to go in and get ready because my sister Emma is graduating today from Michigan State in their packaging engineering program. So we're going to be going over to Lansing to celebrate with her, and I have to get ready for that. But before I do, I wanted to check in where I am now. I think there was one other thing I wanted to do in this video. We'll see. But I went in and finally undid all of the winter sowing jugs we sowed earlier this year. This is my first time using this method. In general, for some things, it worked really, really well. There was a couple of duds that might have been user error, and it's been very rewarding. It was really fun opening them and seeing what was in them. I thought I'd give you a quick little peek. I know we checked in with these a couple weeks ago, but they've really shot up since then. These are all the sweet peas we sowed, and I've undone them but left them shut because they're just beginning to break through. They needed some water though, so I wanted to make sure I gave everything a really good water. I also discovered very quickly the easiest way to get the duct tape off was to pull instead of cut. I struggled with the first couple and then shifted what I was doing. But if you look over here, I've engineered this to keep them open, hoping that's good. They're looking a little bedraggled with the water. The lupins and hollyhocks by far were the most successful. We have some snapdragons that did well, but then every single lupin has at least 3 babies coming through, which is exciting. The hollyhock likewise has a ton, which I'm thrilled about. And then the poppies were the next most successful. This is a poppy, and then we have 2 poppies down here. Alyssum did pretty well too. And then there was the columbine, which I think has been a bust, though I'm still holding out hope. Here is one that I think is actually a columbine seedling. They take forever, so maybe they're still coming. And I've left everything that I didn't think had anything in it. I gave it a good water. If it was an obvious weed, I pulled it. But I thought, well, maybe they just needed a little more water and a little more time to wake up. We'll see. We'll leave them and see how it goes. Also watered everything in my holding area. I think everything, at least in this big holding area, has come back really well, including the hostas I was worried about. I did give them a drink because they were a bit dry. So if they look a bit sad right now, they're going to pop up in just a little bit. But the hellebores we knew were doing really, really well. Again, they got dry. They're going to be fine. But every hosta, those are the ones I was really worried about, has some little pips coming up. This was the one that I didn't think was going to do well, but I was taking solace. Which one is this? Cupped hosta. Okay, this is from the front. I was taking solace in the fact that these were in here really well, sturdily, so I was like, it's not rotted, which is what I was worried about, and they finally started pipping. Also, likewise, all of the toad lilies are now up, which is exciting. And we've made progress over here too. I know there was one, I think it was this one, that I thought was dead. I think it's doing pretty well. Some banana cream daisies, I don't see any signs of life, but I'm not sure, so we're gonna have to just, live with that. But the peonies are all doing well. And then these guys, though this grass looks like, though alive, it's pretty sad. In general, though, there's growth everywhere, and I don't know if I showed you guys this, but this really pretty primrose is doing well. The lungwort is about to start flowering. And most things here have made it. There are a couple dwarf hollyhocks that I think probably bit it, but they're biennials anyway. I am hoping to do some seeding still. I need to get my zinnias seeded, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, but that's an evening project, so you'll probably see that when it's dark outside, and I'm hoping to include that in this video. It is actually a new day. I managed to get everything done over the course of the weekend, but I finished up that last piece quite late, and I thought it would be better to film just a brief overview of what I got planted in the morning. We also did get to go to Lansing and celebrate Emma's college graduation. I didn't get a picture of her in her cap and gown with the whole family, but I did get a group picture before we went to the ceremony itself, which I'll pop in here. But congratulations again to Emma, and excited that the whole crew was able to come together and celebrate with her. Anyway, back to the zinnias. I also wanted to kind of show you what my current setup is, because I'm kind of at capacity with the light space I have indoors. So I'm really looking forward to getting this veggie garden here set up, which will happen in the next couple weeks, and then also getting things planted out at the cottage, because I started both gardens sets of seeds. Are in my kitchen right now, which is a little messy, so I'm not going to show you. But I have finally got these out of storage and set up, and oh my gosh, it was a chore. I usually store these over the winter just completely still set up. I just move them into my basement because they're super lightweight. They do come apart, which is nice if you do need to collapse them. However, I haven't taken them apart since I've owned them. When we moved, I did take them apart for their own safety, and I'm pretty sure I set them up like 3 times. The first time I set them up, I didn't realize that the lights needed to go on before I put the next layer on. So I took it apart, added the lights. Didn't think about the fact that I needed to make sure both of the correct ends for the cords were pointing the same way. So they were at the same side of the lights. And I think of the 5 different levels, only 1 was done correctly. So I got to redo that again. So it was a bit of a chore, but it's all done now. And they all work. All the lights work. I was a little worried about that with going through storage and the move. And these actually went to a storage unit while like my house was on the market. And then they came to the garage, and they've been sitting there all winter. And I felt guilty that I hadn't moved them inside. But they all worked out. And actually, I really do like these as a nice solution to expand the light space I have. Bought these from Gardener Supply Company. I'm not entirely sure what their name is. I'll see if I can find it and pop it on. But each level is modular, and I actually have, for one of these levels, which I'll have to get out soon, some extenders so I can make this super high. And the other thing that's nice about them, and you might be able to tell because the lights aren't level, you can adjust how high or low the lights are. So it lets you get the lights down to the height plants so they don't stretch towards the light. But this one, so these guys are all things we started a while ago, and earlier in this video I did up pot my tomatoes, and I went ahead and up potted my pepper plants, which I've popped there as well. I usually put down some plastic just to kind of help keep dirt off the wood floor and provide a little extra protection. I also set it up all on timer so I don't have to think about them. They come on at about 5-6 a.m. and turn off at midnight, so they're getting the lights they need. And actually, this guy's in the process. He's basically hardened, but he's in the process of hardening off, and I should just pop him there to keep his journey going. So those are all old plants. These are all the plants that we started, as you might be able to tell from the different domes. I did 3 different smaller flats of different leafy greens. I checked this morning and there's no action in any of them. One of these is like specialty. I think it's this one. So I have a couple different kinds of kale, some mustard greens, and some other bits and bobs. Then I have 2 of these, each have half of the cells are different mixes that we like. So hopefully those will do well. And then these guys are all zinnias. I only have 2 heat mats, and zinnias do like heat, so I put them on these 2. And this light is on. You might be able to tell these lights aren't on because this one, even though we did this, today's Tuesday and we finished this Sunday, it is already like got a couple baby sprouts coming through. These are some new seeds that I was able to purchase from Floret, which I'm really excited about. We have the unicorn mix zinnia, the precious metal zinnia, the little flower girl, and golden hour. So this year, one of the things that I did a little bit differently, I've just been a little bit more sparse with my seeds, especially if they're newer. So instead of doing 2 or 3 seeds in every single cell, I did 1 seed in every cell, and then usually I did probably 20 to 30% with 2 seeds, thinking that if any of the cells with single seeds didn't germinate, hopefully I would have enough that I could fill them, because I really have more zinnias than I need. So just getting these flats, I only need 1 per square. And I think this was a 72 count tray. So each of those 4 varieties, 72 divided by 4. That's probably like 18-ish. So I have 18 per variety. I still have extra seed for next year. And since Floret did say that they probably aren't going to be selling them again, I'm going to try and save seeds from the flowers, which isn't something I've done a lot. So that'll be a new thing to be able to tackle this year. And also I want to, I preserve some of the seeds so that I would have enough for next year as well if it failed, I guess, the long and short of it. So that was all the new seeds from Floret that I was super excited about. The rest of the seeds were ones I already owned. This one, I have a lot of seeds of the different lime mixes. So we have Queen Lemon Peach, Queen Lime Blush, Queen Lime Orange, Queen Lime Red, as well as the Oklahoma mix, which is one of my favorites. This bottom tray, which does not have a heating element, you can tell doesn't have quite the same level of condensation as the others. I did just disturb that, so. But my plan is once this guy, which is a ton of drips, once this guy up top is fully germinated, I'll pop that heat back down here if it still needs it. But on here we have the Peruvian zinnia, a giant dahlia type deep red zinnia, Mizukia, Tiki's Choice, Benary's Giant Lime, a Benary's Giant Mix I have a couple different rows of, Cinderella Peach, which is one of my favorite, I have a couple rows full of, and a Pumala Mix, which is a slightly smaller one that I have a couple rows of. Actually, the Cinderella and the Tiki's Choice both met with a slightly unfortunate accident. I had my doors and windows open, and as we were walking out the door to go to Emma's graduation, and I was shutting it, a big gust came in and they got into the sink, which had some water in it. So I quickly got the seeds out. The Tiki's Choice, I don't think the seeds were wet at all. The Cinderella Peach definitely got, like, the whole packet just kind of dissolved. So I put them in, I dried them off really quickly, and it wasn't until the next day I was able to plant them. Usually seeds that get wet before they're planted don't germinate well. I'm kind of wondering, because it was like 24 hours, if it won't, I'm hoping it won't phase it. I think that's what my gut is telling me. Anyway, so we'll see. I also didn't have enough Cinderella Peach. I think I only did 1 per cell because that's all I had. I'm gonna have to add that to the list to purchase this year. Those are all the new ones we got sown in this video. And the only things I have left to sow are actually some squash and pumpkins, which I'm gonna sow next weekend because I do start those inside just to get them going before I pop them out into the landscape. Since I have a shorter growing season, I like to give them a head start to make sure that the plants get jump started before they go out into the real world. So that is the last thing I'm going to sow, but in general, I'm done sowing, which it seems like it went by so quickly. I can't even believe it. Oh, I wanted to show you my other lights. So these 2 lights are in my kitchen, and these kind of flex, so I only pull them out when I need them. And as you could probably tell from the lights that I showed you before the seeds are germinated, none of them require a light to germinate, so I just leave the lights off until they're needed. But since the top does have a couple seedlings popping through, I thought it'd be good to turn it on. The other one is one that stays up year round. This one you've seen before in videos. This is also one I purchased from Gardener Supply Company. I really like their light solutions in general. This is also one that's going to stay up year round. It's a little messy right now, and it's filled to the brim, but here's all the things we started a while back. You saw me pot these guys up. They had some, couple of them were unhappy, as you can kind of see, and some of their branches are looking a little ill. However, their new growth is great. These are ones that as they get taller, I'm actually going to have to pop them into the other rack. I told you that I have some extensions to make one of the lights taller. I usually use it for tomatoes. So I probably have about a week before I have to do that. I'm hoping that I can figure out a way to push things around. I really should actually order another layer or 2. Because this year I grew more zinnias than I anticipated. And it just takes up space that I don't really have. I am fortunate that none of my dahlias are here. They're all at the cottage, and we're actually going to be checking in on them in a video you will see next week. They're progressing, is all I'll say right now. Not as well as I'd hoped. But the tomatoes, as you can kind of see, do need a little bit of extra space. I have them all up on things propping. I think what I'm going to do is change this over here to these guys, which actually are part of, oh, I don't have any in here, but they actually go inside the smaller trays because those are actually self-watering trays. I just don't actually like the self-watering feature, so I don't really use it. But these make really good props. And as you can see, these trays are actually trays that I've acquired over the years from plants I've bought and kept, so they're easy to kind of move a tray out at once. But they're not super rigid, so the only way to get them all to fit this way is to have something underneath it providing support. This is a little bit taller than is necessary, so next time I get these all out to water them, I'll probably pop these guys underneath to provide them the support they need, but giving like probably about an inch, maybe a little bit more of space for the plants. So those are doing really well. The dahlias we planted are doing amazing. I'm actually going to be up potting these as soon as I have a little bit more space. And I also need to up pot the geraniums. Aren't they looking great too? I was worried about them since they did, you know, get a slightly later start in life. Marigolds are in general okay. This germination rate is okay. It wasn't great. I'm a little disappointed in it, and I actually bought another pack of seeds to kind of come in and just fill the squares. If it didn't germinate, they'll be way behind, but I'll have more plants, which is good. Alyssum here is kind of looking a little meh, but this is one that I only had enough seed to do like 1, maybe 2 per sow. Alyssum is one that I usually heavy sow. So it's looking a little sad, but come, you know, June, July, you won't be able to tell that this is what they looked like. Here's some more alyssum that I was able to, you know, do a little fuller. Actually, this is looking very wet. Oops. I'll have to vacuum that up. And then here are all my coleus babies looking great. They're a little damp. I did overwater this, so I'm just going to let this dry out. And it's kind of developed a bit of algae, which isn't great. I didn't put vermiculite on it, and I should have. And here is another thing of marigolds that, again, the germination rate on this was pretty terrible. So I'm going to oversow this as well. So that is really how everything ended up in this video. It was a bit of a hodgepodge, but hopefully it was enjoyable checking in on some of the projects we started, honestly, 6 weeks ago, and being able to see how they've progressed. Their next big step is going to be hardening off and then finally getting planted. Working on the vegetable garden, as I mentioned, here at the new house. Originally I'd planned to just, you know, do stuff in the dirt this year. Through the course of looking at sunlight, I realized where I was planning on putting the vegetable garden was not going to work because of the sunlight. We ended up moving it, and because of where we're moving it, there's some considerations with the fall of the land in different grades. And so we're actually going to end up building the boxes this year, which I hadn't originally planned to, but it is really important for me, especially because I'm going to rig up some drip irrigation to make sure that bed is level, and it just can't be level or even made level with some of the different falling off, which you'll be able to see in a video because I'm going to document the whole thing. We've actually gone and flagged everything already, so it'll be coming up quite soon. I'm hoping it can be done quickly, which I don't know. I mean, I hope it all works out the way I'm dreaming it will. I'm worried it won't, but we'll see. And it'll get done when it needs to get done. So that is going to be an upcoming video. And once that is done, I'll be able to get my onions and the different brassicas I have out in the yard. We'll also be able to sow our peas and things like that, which is really exciting. So make sure that you subscribe and check back for that video. If you liked this one, please make sure to hit that thumbs up button. I really appreciate you joining me in this video, and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye-bye.